Like that. Did you know it's March?
Yes.
Did you know that? Did you know it's March 9th? March the 10th? March the 10th? Is it tomorrow? No. We're in March. Something's happening in March. Something important is happening in March.
Yeah.
Right? March is when dates. Have you followed up? So that might be something that we're waiting for or not waiting for. Huh? I've got a couple more interviews. I got 3 interviews actually. These last 2 weeks. Let's spend some time after.
That was weird. I'm saying we like this you want the other team for 1 year and then you want the other league. Nice to meet you. I know. Sit up front.
Hey guys, thank you for coming once again. You guys have been doing a lot of things for spending time with us today. My name is David, and I'm going to introduce our speakers today. We're going to hear from, so if you're an actual friend here to support someone or a client here to share, give us feedback on the ideas we shared, or just to see or be part of our growth in our company. We're going to hear from 3 speakers today. Robin Sears, she's going to actually talk to you guys about a problem that's happening in America that nobody actually is aware of. And then Wade Skelton is going to come up and talk to you about a solution to that problem that we can actually share and help people. And then we're going to bring up Brett Sears, who's going to take that problem and that solution and give us an opportunity to actually take care of America. send us a politician right there. Without any further ado, Robin Sears, please.
Like, cue the music. No, I think that's like the graduation music. That's when I came up to. Robin Sears, that's me. Hello, everybody. How you doing tonight?
Great.
Good. So, thank you, David. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I know there's lots of places that you could be, and if a friend dragged you here, you could give the 20 later, just not walk and talking. I would appreciate it. So tonight, you know, as long as you're going to be here, I ask that you give us your full attention, kind of put the rest of the world out there for that hour that you're going to be with us, or 2 or 3 hours. And really take some time, as long as you're going to be here, to really think about the problem that we're talking about, the solution we're talking about, and where you could potentially fit in that solution. It was funny, the other day, I was in line for Starbucks coffee, of course, thinking about my coffee. And I got up to the front of the line and I ordered my coffee, and it was one of those days where I was just desperate for my coffee. And the price came up, and I went to, actually it was cash, which I rarely do, but I left my card in the car. And I went to use cash, and I was 25 cents short. Has it ever happened to you? Have you ever been right there, ready to get that In-N-Out burger or that Starbucks coffee, or God forbid, you're in line at the supermarket and there's this whole line behind you, right? And you're like, I'm short 25 cents. What am I gonna do, right? And I'm frantically searching in my purse, trying to be all cool because there's this long line behind me. And I'm like, do I ask someone for the 25 cents? What do I do? And you feel completely stuck. But in the moment when you ordered your coffee, you had no idea that you were stuck. I had no idea that I didn't have that 25 cents. And then I discovered I didn't have it. And I was completely stuck without it. You know that feeling? And I didn't even know that I was going to be stuck right before it happened. That's why we're here tonight. Because that's what's happening on a global level to all of us. We can kind of laugh and joke about the 25 cents for my coffee. And yes, I borrowed it from the guy behind me. Pay it forward next time. And sometimes we can borrow that loan for school, and sometimes we can't. And we're waiting for that next paycheck. And we're like, well, it's okay if I put off half of my car payment this week because I'm going to get paid next week, and then I can pay it off, right? Or, well, I really want to go on that trip, so I'll just put it on a credit card and deal with it later. That's how we start to live our lives, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Because the world is arranged in kind of a funny way. We've got wealthy people at the top, and they've got access to all kinds of things, not surprisingly, right? Access to education, no question. Whether or not their kids are going to college, the question is which college, and usually it's the one that your dad, your grandpa, your mom, or maybe even your grandma went to. Opportunities for ownership, as many of you in here know that I always say, the rich people own the corporate ladder, the rest of us are trying to climb it. Take your pick. My arms are a little tired personally. Financial freedom, the time and the money to do what you want, when you want, with who you want to do it. And I don't judge. And financial guidance, because who wouldn't want to give help to people with money, right? That's what's happening at the top. Hundreds of thousands of people waking up every day saying, what can I do to serve you to take your money as an employee or as a service provider? And then we've got folks at the bottom. And in this great country, we've decided to take care of the people who are the least fortunate, which is a wonderful thing. And we offer free preschool and college grants, and hundreds of thousands of nonprofits are out there. Churches and temples and government programs to make sure that the people who are least fortunate in our community are taken care of. So hundreds of thousands of people wake up every day and say, I want to have a big impact, and I'm going to do it by helping out this group. And then there's one open space in the middle. And we said, what's going on there? And that's a group that we call Main Street Families. This is the group of folks who stand at the counter waiting for the coffee, realizing that they don't have 25 cents to pay for it. But it's more than a cup of coffee, because it's preschool, and it's college, and it's about having and being able to control your own destiny. Living almost paycheck to paycheck, being stuck, and not knowing that we're stuck, not knowing that there's an alternative to simply accepting the struggle. The struggle because this group of people pays the taxes. If you have a job in this country, you pay the taxes to help support these programs. And if you're sitting in this room, you are buying goods and services to keep those folks in business. So no one's interested in changing this dilemma. But what does it really look like for you and me? That's what we started to say. So we said, okay, up at the top, we got the baby boomers. There might be a couple in here. I'm not naming any names, but. And what's happening with the baby boomers? I know my mom's not going to name her, right? What's happening with baby boomers? Seriously, it's a crisis generation. It's a complete problem. And the reason that it's a problem is because most families haven't actually saved enough money to retire at typical retirement age. See, our grandparents and our great-grandparents, they knew. Like 55 came and they were done. 55 comes, and most folks are saying, please let me be healthy enough to work 20 more years. That's the reality of that situation. And they're in crisis because there isn't a lot of time. They're in crisis because this is the first group that is actually coming out of the workforce with a 401k instead of a pension. A pension guarantees a certain amount of a monthly income. A 401k says, here's a big check if you happen to have been lucky enough to save for it and figure out how to make it last for the next 30 years on your own. This is the first generation where the government, the corporations have said, retirement is up to you. And they don't have a lot of time to make up for it. Then there's the Gen X, Gen Y. Apparently that's mine. So millennials are like 1982, so y'all aren't that far behind. Let's have a clear about that. Gen X, Gen Y, right? Folks are in their 30s, in their 40s, young families. And what's going on with my group? My group doesn't have enough to actually own something. My group actually looked at what was going up there and said, oh, we're going to save, and then we're going to realize halfway through that we don't even have enough money to live, and we're going to take out more loans and early withdrawals on our retirement account than any other generation. My group's got young kids, and they're making decisions that those kids go to preschool 3 rather than 5 times a week because it simply costs too much money. And if you make $100 over the limit for preschool, you are out of luck. My group is looking at their kids who are graduating high school and saying, I can't help you pay for college. My group is sitting there saying, I'm going to be lucky if there's any Social Security, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for my own retirement. This group is stuck, completely stuck. And so we compromise day after day and say, we'll deal with it when it happens. And then we got millennials. And let me tell you, you guys are a great group, very idealistic, ready to take on the world. And so I went and looked at the statistics, because that's what we really need to deal with, to cope with the reality. That's what the 25 cents is about. Over 42% of millennials polled said debt is their greatest concern. In their 20s, tuition is up 40% in the last 7 years, well, 70%. Most millennials think that it's only going to take $36,000 a year to retire, which means no one is saving enough money. And let me tell you, as much as people talk about entitlement, it is not your fault. You're coming out of high school in the worst situation for actually paying for college, in the most difficult time to get into college, and in one of the worst workforces we've seen for young people. So unless we do something about it, I call you the screwed generation. Now the good news about the screwed generation is you can turn this screwed into success, Because you have the most amount of time to do it. If you actually know what to do. So my job tonight, our job tonight, is about providing the information and the knowledge. That's my responsibility. What you choose to do with it is yours. But there's a difference between being stuck and not knowing it, and knowing it and choosing to stay stuck. So I got a question. What if it were different? What if there was a way that it could be different? What kind of impact would that have? What kind of impact would it have to know that you could take care of your family for the rest of their lives? What kind of impact to know Philip could go to any school at any time for any cost and be able to come out debt free? Would you choose a different path? If someone said, here, it's back money. What do you do? If someone helped you plan for your future. If you knew that at 30 and 40 and 50 you could be exactly where you planned to be. Would that be different? How would it be different for your kids? How could you change a generation? That's what tonight is about. Tonight is about an opportunity to understand that there is a big problem. And the problem is that we don't have access to the tools and resources of the wealthy. And there's a way that it can be different. And so I'm going to invite Wade Leslie to talk to you about how it can be different. Thanks.
So Robin, you used to introduce me a long time, for months and months and months, as I'd like to grab the great Wade Skalski, and she hasn't said it in like a month or two. So I've now been downgraded to just Wade Skalski. So I hope you guys
I got all tripped up because I was about to say David. And
That's
I'm like,
right.
no, it's Skalski.
That's right. So I hope you all can deal with me tonight on that a little bit. But so Robin said something very important. She said, I want to invite Wade up here so he can show you how it can be different, right? And please note, what she didn't say is that how right now is different, because if you think about all of the three different generations that she identified, they all have the same problem, okay? Don't believe anybody that says, oh, the good old days, when we all knew how to deal with our money and save for retirement and be ready, right? Well, that's just not true. The stats have been the same since the beginning of time in this country, and that's 95 out of every people are not prepared to retire when they retire. That means only 5 out of every 100 people are somewhat prepared to retire. The stats have always been that way. Well, and Robin touched on why that is, because the access gap. But there is that 5% of people that treat their money differently, right? So what makes them different? It's not, we just discovered it's not generational, right? It's not, well, the people that were 3 generations ago, they get to experience this wealth. It's not. It's that there's a group of people that they think about their money differently. And what do they do with it? Well, the first thing that the wealthy do is they lock in advances for their family. What does this mean? Really simple. They don't want to do work twice, right? Every step forward is a step forward, but then if something happens to me, something happens to my wife and our daughter that's coming, if we don't prepare for that, she has to do all the same work over again, right? They also develop habits. They understand that we can't, listen, we can work ourselves into wealth in 2 weeks, wouldn't all of us be wealthy, right? It's not a measure of work, okay? It's not something where it's like we can work ourselves into wealth in a quick period of time. It requires habits over a longer period of time. And they leverage experts, right? I'm terrible with cars. Like most guys are car people and gadget people. I'm not. I have my phone is like 3 generations old. I don't know how to fix my car, right? Any of those things. And so I leverage experts because I don't know how to do those things. Why do we try to do that with our money, right? Why do we try to do our own investing? Why do we try to basically do our own taxes? The thing is, the wealthy understands that let's outsource those things that we're not that great at so that we spend our time moving forward. And then finally, they cultivate strategic partnerships. So I've said this a few times, but at least some of you know who Oprah is. All right, thank God. Okay, so we were having a conversation before the meeting, and I dated myself, and I talked about Paula Abdul, and there's a big generational schism there. But Isidro knows who Oprah is, like she's worth $1 billion. Well, Oprah's always talked about how in her life, there's only 6 relationships that were responsible for her success, okay? 6 different groups of people, 6 different relationships that she can point to that gave her the opportunities to make $1 billion. Now, she has a lot more than 6 relationships, but the wealthy understand that cultivating strategic partnerships is key to getting wealthy, okay? So, why is this important? Well, let's talk about the power of partnership. The Primerica is a company that its entire mission is for Main Street families. It has $3 billion in cash. It's been around since 1977. And all of their services and everything, their education is geared towards that middle group of people that Robin talked about, okay? And so there can be a strategic partner for us to make sure that when we start to tackle these issues, we have someone in our corner that can help us. Because look, is Charles Schwab coming to anyone's house? Anybody? Anybody? No. The reason is because Charles Schwab won't even talk to you about an account unless you have $250,000 in cash. Do you have 250 grand in cash? Anybody else? No? Well, Primerica will talk to you if you can do $50 a month for a savings account, okay? So basically, what we want to do then is we've identified how the wealthy think about their money, all right? So now how can we do those same principles even if we don't have access to what they have access to? We don't have access to trust funds. We don't have access to Charles Schwab. We don't have access to any of those things, so what do? Well, the first thing we do is we lock in the advances for our family. That's level term insurance. It's very simple. You buy a bag of money, you get hit by a bus, or by Catalina, struck by lightning, your family gets the money so they don't have to start over, right? No car washes for people that have level term insurance when a family member passes away, right? The second thing they do is we develop habits, all right? Mutual funds. We save a little bit of money every single month. We did the numbers once, and it was $100 and some. You're 17 years old, right? If you save $100+ a month until you're 65, you'll have roughly $1 million in the bank. Now, do you think that you're going to spend $100 every month for the rest of your life on something you probably could do without? No? Yes. Okay, right? You're going to buy something you don't need, and then three years later, you're like, why did I buy this, right? But if you just save $100 a month or so, right, every month, you don't have to increase it, you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 65. Isn't that a powerful piece of information, right? And that's just a habit. If you put it on automatic draft, you don't even know it's there. The third thing is leveraging experts, okay? Managed accounts. Now, managed accounts is a fancy way of saying we have other people utilize our money, right? So let's talk a little bit about the rule of 72, which is the rule of our money. Now, Cedar, I just told you, if you do $100 a month, then you're going to have a substantial amount of money at the end. How's that possible, right? Well, it's the rule of 72. I know everyone here except for Cedar has heard of the rule of 72 because you guys were all here last week. We talked about it, right? But have you ever heard of the rule of 72? It's okay. Nobody has ever hears of it because no one talks about it, right? The rule of 72 is the rule of money. It says that if you have a chunk of money and you want to know how long it's going to take for that money to double, you divide the number 72 by the interest rate, and the answer to that will tell you how many years it will take to double. So if you had 10 grand at 3% in 48 years, that'll be $40,000. It'll double twice. Okay? 72 divided by 3 is 24, double twice. If you have at 6% in your bank account, then that goes to 160 grand. And if you have 12%, that goes to, wait for it, $2.5 million. Okay? And that's not increasing the amount of money. If you said 10 grand and you put it in an account that gave you 12%, it's just left, just the initial 10 grand. You'll have $2.5 million in 48 years. Right? This is not a magic trick. It's math. Which to some people feels like a magic trick. Who felt like math was a magic trick? Be honest. Everybody raise your hand. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. What does this break down? Why is this important? Right? Why should we get excited about this? Right? Here's why. All right. None of this matters unless it becomes personal for us. Okay. I didn't start seriously looking at my retirement until I was in the late 30s, early 40s. All right. So I've lost. 48 years from now, I was told there'd be no math. 91. Okay. So I've got to make it to 91 to be able to get the advantage of the rule of 72. All right. You guys are 17 years old. If I hang out with you and I get you to understand this, and you're like, yes, I'm going to start saving money and making what I can, your whole life is different when you're my age and older. But it's not personal for anyone, okay? So we have to start making it personal. It's personal for me because I have a daughter on the way in the next 5 weeks, right? And I'm going to terrorize her, right, with these principles. Why? Because if I terrorize her with these principles that no one taught me, her life is markedly different than my life. And it's not what we all want for our kids' lives to be better than our lives, right? And so, listen, and then the fourth thing is cultivating strategic partners. And why is this is my favorite one for a couple different reasons. It's not just the Oprah example. Primerica is great. It's a company in Duluth, Georgia, okay? They make these products that we utilize that help us achieve what the wealthy do. But there's another thing in here I want you guys to understand. I'm originally, right? I make up words. And I got a half calf tonight too. I was for sure that was going to be okay. I grew up in the Midwest, all right? In the Midwest, there's a tradition of something called a barn raising. Who knows what that is? Good. Okay, one person. You always have to break the curve then, all right? A barn raising is you'd be on the farm and you're like, oh, our barn burned down. We got to make a barn, right? So they would build a barn. But what would happen is all the neighbors would get together on a weekend. They would build the barn together, right? And then the farmer would have a barn. Why? Well, people were spread out and they didn't have a lot of help, so they all helped each other. That was the culture. Now we've traded all that helping each other in for a very sophisticated, advanced economy where you can get, Robin's not here, but my pointer back there, whatever coffee you want, right? You can get a temperature, you can get exactly how sweet you want. You can get how many, like I get a half cap, how many shots of espresso for like $4 and I didn't think about it. Super complicated. We can get whatever we want except for the support of each other because we're not in the culture like that anymore. Okay? When we talk about strategic partnerships, it's time that we have to realize that the banks and the insurance companies are not coming to help you. If they were, they would have already come to help you already. Except for when you turn 18, you're going to get a bunch of stuff in the mail about credit cards, right? And that's not going to help you. Okay? And what I want you guys to all understand is that these things are a 2 to 3 generational plan that if we work together, our children and our children's lives can be different. We can start to get security, financial security, but they can get financial wealth, right? And the only way that we do that, though, is by working together, that our strength is in our numbers. And we have to realize that no one is going to help us figure this out, so we have to figure it out ourselves. And we do that by emulating what the wealthy do with their money and working together on those things. So that's why I get excited about this, because it's become personal for me. And I hope that you guys can get a little bit excited about that things can be different for you. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be 43 like I am and be like, am I going to have enough money to retire? You can be at a party in 6 years and you can talk to somebody and be like, oh, I'm going to be so wealthy when I retire. I'm just thinking about where I'm traveling, right? You can start planning now and realize how important that is, right? Okay? So you're kind of smiling and laughing. That seems kind of fun, right? So that's what we're dedicated to here, is teaching these concepts to people so that we can get people, in your situation, you're really, really young, and we can get people like me when we're not so young, right? But then we can at least improve our situation going forward so we're not operating in the dark, right? So that's why I get excited about this, and I also get excited about this because there's very little math, all right? So anyway, so that's my part of the conversation. The next thing I'm going to do is bring up the great Brett Sears, and he's going to talk to you about maybe a one-generational.
How's everybody doing? It's funny, I'm standing at the back of the room. My name is Brett Sears. I've been here, I'm a senior vice president of the company. I'm about to start, I'm halfway through my 20th year. I got in the business, I was like 7. But no, as I'm sitting in the back of the room, we've gone through a lot of different iterations, a lot of different adventures of kind of the meetings and the cultures and where things are. And something just struck me, like, if you guys all seen like the TV shows where like there's the monotone speaker up front, there's like 3 dilapidated people in the room, and they're like, oh, I'm excited. Like, and you're like, God, what would grab somebody? What is this about? I'm sitting back there and I'm like, we actually have a group of people and an opportunity to literally light ourselves on fire. And it's funny is I've had room with 150, 200, 500, 1,000 people and inspired, but none of the speakers, none of the conversations, and none of the messages were anything better than you've heard tonight. And so the reality is that sometimes, we talk about it, is it's our opportunity to recognize our moment, right? You know, everyone's dating themselves through different things, but you know, if it's 1977 and you happen to be in the garage with Steve Jobs, right? And they're working on the first computer and going through. I got a question. Would you recognize it? Would you recognize the moment? Could you imagine being in the garage and then going, it's never going to work, and then leaving? And then like 5 years later going, holy crap, what happened? Could you imagine the impact of that? You all realize that there are people that's happened to, right or wrong? It's like, y'all are serious, right? Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like David and I were talking a little earlier, and it's like, look, we're exactly where we are. And that's a very existential conversation, right? We can go down the circle. But the work it took to get to where we are is done. We don't have to do the work we did to get here anymore. We now get to take advantage of where we are. See, when Wade talked about the fact that the Rule 72 is in place and mutual funds and all of the infrastructure created to be able to deliver an investment for a 17 or 18-year-old that's returned at 20 or 10% rate of return for 50, 60 years, all of that work is done. You don't have to work for any of that stuff to be created. Isn't that crazy? All you and I have to do is fill out the application and start investing and take advantage of that opportunity. Right? All of that work has been created. There's a financial services company that says, look, we want to spend 35 years building the roots necessary to deliver the tools of the wealthy to Main Street families. We want to make sure that we have the infrastructure, the products, the tools, the language, right, the delivery mechanism. We want to make sure all of this done, and we're going to invest 35 years into getting it absolutely created. And all of that work is done. Like, could you imagine coming to a meeting and say, one day we're going to have this infrastructure, one day, and have to wait 35 years for it? That would be a long time to wait, right or wrong. But it's done. The opportunity to be able to explain the access gap and the tools and language of what we're talking about took some time and some education, some resources, and some strife and some change. And all of that is done. Isn't that fun? Now, sometimes we've talked about the fact that if we knew what it was going to take to construct some of things, like if at the beginning, but when you first start a project, if someone would have said this is what it's going to take, there's a lot of us that wouldn't actually have started that project, right or wrong. Because things are, you know, my wife is brilliant. One of the things when we first started spending some time, she's worked with entrepreneurs, and she had the sentence: it'll take twice the money and twice the time. Right? She works with entrepreneurs and say, whatever you think it'll take, double it. And I remember her telling me that, like, going, she didn't tell me that, because I've been in business a long time. She told that to the people she's working with, and in the back of my mind, I'm rolling my eyes, going, yeah, twice the money, twice the time. Here's the reality: is it takes twice the money and twice the time. But the fun thing is once the time is invested and once the money's spent, then the time is invested and the money's spent. Now what? See, Camacho had a breakthrough. All of a sudden, he's like, oh my God, I see what's possible. All the work it took to get him to get to a place where he can see it's possible is done. He gets to lock in that advance forever if that's to happen. See, tonight, what the conversation is going to be, and I've got a bunch of slides. I'm going to fly through most of them. I'll do some of them. Right? But the reality of it is, what conversation tonight is, do you and I understand the work that's been done to get us to where we are? And are we ready to take advantage of it? Or are we waiting for the magic to happen? Because the magic might have already happened. You see, one of the things, right, we talk about the fact that real change is possible. That means you got to have a problem that's identifiable and a solution. Any business in America, the reason Starbucks is on every corner is there's a bunch of people who want to pay $5 for their drugs. Right? They've convinced themselves that they can't go home without their coffee, right or wrong. You'll understand that it's simply, yes, it's true, but it's as much habitual as it is the actual drug. Like, right or wrong. Like, can we all just agree it's social, it's environmental, it's weird, like it's all that stuff in, you walk in with their cool, things just happen. Right? Well, they identified a problem. People work longer and need energy. We'll give them coffee. But they also want a place to be able to go where they can hang out. But then they've got it, so they created the solution. Well, every business is based on what's the product, what's the solution. But you can have the product and solution without a delivery mechanism, it doesn't matter. Well, we said it's the same thing. 70 million families are stuck. If we could teach the wealthy and teach Main Street families what the wealthy think and do, we could make a difference. But how are we going to deliver? Because if we deliver it with a bunch of commercials, a bunch of financial services experts, and we act just like the rest of the industry, then we're going to be just like the rest of the industry. And so for 35 years, Primerica built an infrastructure that said, hey, let's take people from all sorts of backgrounds, because what they have the ability to do is to relate to people with their backgrounds. Teachers know how to talk to teachers, mechanics know how to talk to mechanics, lawyers know how to talk to lawyers. And if we can arm people with the tools and the impact, then they can take this information to the communities that they're familiar with, and we can make a difference. Because at the end of the day, it's going to take a path to ownership if we want a legitimate shot to get free. Every once in a while I get in this conversation and people always think, you're trying to recruit me to Primerica. I said, no, I raise entrepreneurs. I'm trying to recruit you to ownership. And the reason why I'm a professional recruiter, recruit people to ownership, is there's a 0% chance of you and I talking about financial freedom unless you own. The ownership's not a guarantee you'll get there, but not owning is a guarantee you won't. Now, we can get you financially secure. You can save and invest. You can invest. You can make sure that you can maintain your lifestyle. You can teach your children. And over 2 to 3 generations, like Wade talked about, you can fundamentally change your family. But one of the things I believe with every facet in me, Arson, is that you're getting job and stuff. But if we want to get free, when we lay in bed, if we want to get free, we've got to own. So the question becomes, what are we going to own and why? Well, we figured out this solution. We're like, okay, we need a solution though, but it's got to be for the different groups that Robert talked about. And with the slide I'm going to spend the most amount of time with is this one. I'm going to go through this. Because this is what tonight's about for you. We said, look, one of our things is we have a place for everyone to enroll for all of us. What does that mean? Our number one job is to find and raise entrepreneurs. Right? The ability to build something for you and your family. The ability to start where you stand and create what you need, and the ability to be in charge of how big or how small you want to create. You see, Robert, we figured out something a long time ago. And one of the most exciting things is I have a lot of people who come work with us in Primerica. And I love that. I love people when they get excited, they turn in the paperwork, they get licensed, they go through the process, they start growing. It is so fun to watch people grow. But the reality upon realities is I've been here 20 years. There's a good chance I'm here for a lot longer than that. But there's folks that have come with me, right? They're with us for 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years. And Primerica isn't about signing a lifetime contract that says I'm here for the duration. Primerica is about how do I learn the skills and resources as an entrepreneur and get to a place where I get to decide. See, what we want to do is we want to raise leaders. We want to find folks that aren't where they want to be. There's a tremendous problem in this country. It's lack of access. And if we can build an army of folks that can help deliver that access to the people who need it, we can make a systemic change in our communities and in our country. But more important than that, or as important than that, is the person sitting in your chair. You see, I've been here, and I've taught people the Rule 72 on a Monday. I've gone back to talk to them on a Wednesday and said, hey, do you remember the Rule 72? And they looked at me like they've never heard it before. And I'm like, but I'm a pretty good teacher, and I was in your house 2 days ago. Was that somebody else? Why? Because the first time we hear information, we have a tendency to go, yeah, I think that's important. Hey, what's on TV? And we disregard it. Scientists and all the studies said it takes 6 times from 62% retention to hear something. First time we hear it, comes in one ear, not the other. Second time we hear it, it sounds interesting. We think we understand it. The third time we hear it, we're like, wow, I think that might make sense. What's next? The fourth time we hear it, we try to get it. We apply 10 or 15%. The fifth time we get it, maybe we get 40 or 50%. The sixth time we get it, maybe we're at 60 or 70% retention. And now we're inspired to take it from 60 to 100. Well, one of the most powerful things we do is we actually believe that if you invest time with people that know how to build businesses, you're going to get better at building businesses. But if you understand the difference between how the wealthy think, the fact that they lock in their advances, that they develop habits, that they leverage experts, and they cultivate strategic partnerships, if you and I understand that those 4 principles are a distinguisher that can make such a fundamental difference in your life and your children's life, that regardless of business, regardless of income, that mindset shift can change everything. And that's really what we do. Whether there's 4 people or 4,000 people in a room, the number one thing we're going to do is we want to reach the people we're talking to and say, how do we shift from starting over? What have you done for me lately? Yesterday doesn't matter. To locking in advances. To saying that the last 3 months or 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years are done. But we get to glean and gather up all of those experiences and all of those resources, and we get to invest it into the next adventure. Because we don't have to do it again. It's such a different feeling than feeling like we're starting over, isn't it? How many of us have ever been motivated before? And all of a sudden, I don't care if it's to lose weight or to study harder or to start something or just have more motivation, to clean the damn garage. Am I the only one that's ever got motivated to clean the garage? Here's what I know about cleaning the garage. You have a finite amount of energy. You will go as long, you will clean that garage as much as energy you have. Because if you stop, are you going back tomorrow to finish cleaning that garage? There is not a snowball chance in the garage that that's happening, right? So it's like, I gotta get done as much as I can get done. And if you walk into friends' garages, you can see where they got tired. Because they started on this side of the wall, and it's clean, and then right here they got hungry, or right here that someone called, but almost no one gets all the way through. Now, the reality is, actions are based on motivation, and habits are based on intent. See, we know we're going to lose motivation. Look, when you talk about saving money, guess what? There are probably going to be times in your life where saving $100 might be overwhelming. And you're going to come up with all the reasons why you can't do it. And so you'll stop it. And you'll be like, but I'll get it started again. And then a year goes by, or 2 years go by, or 5 years go by, and now all of a sudden the opportunity for the $1.1 million turns into $68,000 because you only missed a couple years. And you'll get started when? The habits are the critical components in our life. But if we don't have someone forcing us to understand that and taking the time to think about it, give me what habits are driving you, because habits drive us all. We talked a lot about leveraging experts. Right? We had a fun talk on Saturday about the difference between depending on people and leveraging experts. What habits do you have? What locked-in abilities do you have? And how do you leverage the resources in your life to make sure you move the ball? See, when we talk about this stuff, and Wade did a phenomenal talking about the idea of cultivating strategic partnerships. See, tonight's about growing entrepreneurs. It's about it's about having a game plan to how do we lock in the advances in your growth? How do we make sure that we leverage experts? How do we cultivate strategic partnerships so we've got the habits in place? And how do we get good at communicating that to them? We use the products and services, financial services, because it's a tangible way to measure. Because if you save a little bit of money over a long period of time, you'll have more money than if you don't. That's a habit. That if you have people depending upon you and you pass away, if you have children and you are not protected, you will lose an entire generation. The reason that we help people properly protect their family with life insurance isn't because any of us woke up one day and said, man, this sounds like a great career. But see, I grew up in a small town in Iowa. Right? And where I grew up, right, everyone's like, I grew up on the wrong side of tracks. To be honest with you, where I grew up, both sides of the wrong side. It was just which group you were going to get in more trouble with. Like, it didn't really matter. Right? It was just this opportunity. He said, look, here's what happened in where I grew up. Right? You went to school and you went to a community college called DMAC, and then you went back and you started working in the bars. You worked at the Planet. Maybe you coached one of the sports teams that you used to play on. And that was kind of the boomerang experience of what was going on. I found out there was no fence around the state and I left. But see, where I came from and the mindset of this is, man, it's just you keep doing everything that you see. Because everyone else has done it, so it can't be wrong. See, guys, our moment in time is the opportunity to say, look, if we want to build something from scratch, how important is it that you put the right people in? How important is it that we actually lock in and we move to the next step? You see, when we talk about becoming entrepreneurs and raising folks, it's about the ability to build something where you stand before you. What would an extra $500? What would an extra $1,000 or $2,000 do? What happens if you had 10 people on your team that were building a business with you and they were able to do different things, right? The conversation with Camacho is about realizing what's possible. When you start seeing somebody realize that they've got the skills locked in and they've got the opportunity to build. The 70 million family stuff. How many of you think you know somebody that wants to put their kids to college and has absolutely no idea? You think if someone could deliver that solution to them, they might be open to it? Can we all agree that the marketing of financial services to a group of people that no one's ever talked to and treating them as adults shouldn't be an overly challenging career option? The question isn't the products, the question isn't the need. The challenge is the 6 inches between our ears. The challenge is the skills and the habits that we're learning. The entrepreneurial skills that we're developing so that we can manage us and we develop. You see, there's 15 of us in a room and there should be 15 of us. Because there's no one else coming. The challenge with this, we talk about this all the time, but I really hope that you get this concept, is that the tax dollars of these 70 million families pay for the services of this group. And there's a barbed wire fence. When you make $1 above that line, you can't take advantage of those services. Because there has to be a line, because it's a finite amount of resources. Can I ask you a question? Is there a big difference between $1? Not really. Not really. But there's a huge difference between you being able to take advantage of the services and not being able to take advantage of the services by $1. The extra discretionary dollars of this group buy their products. Do they want it to change? Can they afford it to change? When we talk about the fact that our families, our communities are stuck, they're stuck. But that's not the problem. It's a problem. But in my opinion, it's not the problem. One of my favorite stories where the guy walks into a gas station ready to fill his car, and all of a sudden, there's this old, like, basset hound dog in the garage, like, they're just sitting there, right? And he's whipping. And the guy's getting ready to pay, and he's whipping. The guy's getting ready to pay, he's getting ready to pay. What's wrong with your dog? He's whipping. The guy goes, he's laying on a nail. The guy looks at him and goes, well, why doesn't your dog get up? It doesn't hurt him that bad. See, the reality is, a lot of us, it's not hurting that bad. How many of you, and this is mainly to the guys in the room, have watched a TV show you didn't really want to watch, but the remote control was all the way across the room and you were comfortable? It didn't hurt that bad. How many of us would love to save a little bit more, but right now it's not a good time, or this isn't a situation, or we really love to make this happen, or we love to do this for our family, but, and we start rationalizing through. See, the idea of this is let's stop taking more of it. The idea of this is let's realize that there's families that need us to show up. There are people right now that are literally having a conversation with their spouse, saying, if someone would just show us, we would do it. We would make a change if there was just a way. The problem is they don't know about the 15 minutes. The 35 years that America's put in work is done. The $3 billion of cash that they've got, resources to let us go, is created. The tools and resources that we've got are in place. The leadership team is dialed in. All of that is done. The question becomes, what do we do? What could the next 4, 5, 10 years of your life look like if we allowed ourselves to catch ourselves on fire and realize, oh my gosh, our job is to lock in these advances and take advantage of these. To go to bed at night dreaming about because whether you want to make $500 a day or $500 a month or $500 a year or $500 an hour, America's created more six-figure earners, more millionaires than any company in American history. This isn't something we're trying to figure out. What we're now doing is building into solving. What we're doing is putting together, finding the entrepreneurs that can go fundamentally shift how people think about their money. To be able to dial in the habits, give the tools to meet someone where they are. And that's really what tonight's about. Tonight's about creating space. About if someone invited you, about them understanding the mission they're on and the cause of their life. If you're in the room and this is something you're participating in, the opportunity to recognize that there's a space for you. But the biggest impact is your opportunity, yes, to make some money, but the opportunity to fundamentally grow. To have your options and opportunities open. To get to a place one day where you say, man, I have the skills and resources to go do anything that I want. Now, you'll spend some time with me and you might want to help us build this. And you might want to take these skills and resources and go build something else. And the skills and resources will change you. What is that worth? What is it worth to have people step by step walk you through? Give you the tools, the resources, the language, and the opportunity to go create it. Because that's what this team is about. That's what you're building. When you aren't sure that's what you're building, that's what you're building. This is what the impact is. This is why we do this. Because whether we're part of the baby boomers, Gen X, or the millennials, we all have to build something. There's no one else. And so we always do our entrepreneurs training on Saturday mornings. Here's what we do. We open our doors. James and teachers hang out. We're like, look, here's the steps, the modules in place. They go, here's step 1, and here's step 2. Because we have a financial vested interest in raising the most successful entrepreneurs we possibly can. And we are in a creation mode right now, where we're looking for that next round of leaders that not only want to learn, but want to help teach. So we figured out a long time ago that learning is what you get pretty good when you learn something, but you get a whole lot better when you teach it. And so we said, man, we're going to streamline this. We're going to maintain an environment. We're going to attract some leaders that want to influence and want to grow and that want to be a part of fundamentally shifting not only the financial services industry in this country, but the way people think about their money. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you be a part of this. We'd love to have you emotionally connect with this opportunity. And the number one thing is we can figure out what challenge you have in your life that you want to solve, let's go solve it. Whether it's you need more time, you need more money, you need more education, you need more resources, you need more friends, you need more environment, you need more emotion, you need more friends. Wherever it is, we can create a space for it, because that's the opportunity. So thank you guys so much for coming. Have a great night. Thank you. Right? So good, yeah.
Yeah, so, well, last, it's 40